Hi, it's Marie. A few months ago, when I was on the toilet, mindlessly scrolling through Instagram, I stumbled upon this ad. It's of a cute cat plushie, but I saw it and thought it could be longer. These plushies are just the size of my parents' cat when she goes. Exactly like that. I quickly forgot about it after I finished my business and went on with my sad, cat plushie-less life. But I kept seeing that ad in all kinds of different moments, not just on the toilet. And my desire to own a really long cat plushie just kept on growing. And I thought to myself, I have a sewing machine. I have subpar sewing skills, so why not make one myself? So then I got to work, and this is how it went. First I sat down and made a very detailed plan. And then I had to decide on the color. Here's what I got. Lots of white and gray fabric for the body, black for the face, pink for a few little details, and lots of stuffing. So much stuffing. I got started with the body, roughly deciding how long it should be. I'm using this round canvas as a template for the face. I also use this long metal ruler because it makes me look like I know what I'm doing. To get the size of the cat's body, I wrap the white fabric around the face template, leaving a little extra so I can sew it together later. This is probably not the best way to do that. I'm trying. Then I spread the fabric out and used my professional art chalk pastels to mark the width, slowly making my way across the whole length. Is there an easier way to do this? Probably. Then I cut the excess off using my very sexy fabric scissors that I have owned for years and never used because I always overestimate how much I'm going to sew. And then I was done for the day and played video games because I can't be bothered to do more than an hour of work a day. Depression. The next day, I got to work right away. Change of plans. I just decided that I want to eat a bowl of cereal, so I'm going to do that first. Good cereal. Professional. Then I planned my next steps. It's probably smart, maybe, to sew the body together first. I mean, actually, I think it's not that smart. It was definitely not smart.
Wank.
I cut it open again and called it a day. So, another day later, I'm taking the canvas and the remaining white fabric to make the face and the behind, the bottom, the booty. And look at these roots. Whew, so bad. I say that now as if mine right now are any better. Then I'm cutting them out, leaving a little border again so later on I can sew together easily. Beautiful. It's a circle. Now that I got the rough body, booty, and face, I need to work on the details. First up, the gray stripes. So I drew up a nice stripe shape to use as a template. You can really see how confident and clean my line work is right there. Really goes to show that I'm certain that I'm doing this the right way. When I was happy with the shape, I cut it out, fold it in half when I'm cutting so the rounded edges will all look the same all around. Symmetry and stuff. Art. Next, the paws. For these I used a ruler, wanting to make a really nice and detailed shape, a little thinner at the top, defined toe beans, hell yeah. And then I was like, yeah, and I just went with this simple shape. Fun time. Next up I drew the patterns for the toe beans, aka the most important part of any cat. Who doesn't love some beans? Love me some beans. Good beans. I cut them out as well. And it's really coming together. Look at that. Patterns. So this is where it went downhill. The ears. I was a bit ambitious when it came to the ears. I wanted to make them kind of 3D, a bit bigger in the back and flat at the front. Flat in the front, nicely curved in the back. Like me. My lack of skill really came through here because I didn't know how to do it. Somehow I did it anyway. Who cares about lack of skill when you have confidence? Drawing up the front triangle was easy, it's a triangle. I won't even explain how I did the rest, because even if I tried, I can't. Is my footage broken? Oh no, I was just thinking. Yeah, that takes a while sometimes. So this felt like a fever dream of math and lots of tears. But somehow I ended up with this, and it works. Don't ask me how I got there. I don't know. In the end, here are the patterns I made. They're both professional and beautiful, like me. Afterwards, I'm drawing up the patterns for the face. Using the canvas I used for the face, I'm drawing a half circle so I can judge the size of all the components better. I want some gray stripes on the face, so I'm doing these first. Sketching it up, cutting it out, boom, done. Easy. I'm taking the face circle then, drawing the stripes on there. Oop, that's my nose. Looking back, why did I do that? I want to sew the gray stripes on. Why did I draw them? Then I sketched up the little nose and mouth. And same goes for the eyes and whiskers. Again, not sure why I'm drawing them on there instead of a piece of paper. I think the ears broke my brain. Afterwards, I'm grabbing a piece of paper to make actual patterns. Could have done this first, wasted a bunch of time. And with that, I finished all the patterns. So now I'm taking out the pink fabric for the nose and the mouth. This time, I'm using an orange felt pen to draw on the pattern instead of chalk. Another decision I couldn't explain to you even if I tried. I'm also giving you a close-up of my greasy hair. You're welcome. And there it is. Very cute indeed. Then I'm moving on to the gray fabric for the whiskers. And then the black fabric for the eyes. Now, behold, here's me struggling to cut out a circle. Still struggling. Confidence in every move. After I cut out all the pieces, I'm arranging them on the face. Now ain't that just cute? I'm happy with that. To attach them, I'm taking some string in the respective color, starting with pink. I'm threading it through the needle first try, GG easy, no problem at all. I'm starting to hand stitch the mouth and nose really slowly because I'm trying to figure out how to do this. If you want to know what kind of stitch, I don't know. I just did what sounded good in the moment. Here's the finished mouth. Looking really cute, right? I like it. You can't even see that I shed a bucket of tears trying to get this right. I'm repeating the same process with the eyes and whiskers. Afterwards, I cut out the big stripes for the face, which I totally did not forget about, stitching them on in the same way as the rest of the face. You might notice that the stripes on the face are now all the same size when the ones that I cut out were different sizes. I don't have an explanation for that. I literally have no recollection of this. I don't know where the other stripes went. They are gone. But anyway, here's the finished face. It's looking super cute and I'm actually really happy with it. I don't know why I'm so surprised about that. Next up, I'm gonna make the tail. It's a pretty simple and straightforward process. So simple, in fact, that I kinda just freestyled it. I took some gray fabric and drew on some lines in the length and thickness that I wanted for the tail. As you can see, I made sure that the two halves of the tail are exactly the same width. I drew on a little curve at the end of the tail and then sewed the two pieces together, doing so incredibly well with the curve in the end that I had to cut it out because I didn't want you guys to make fun of my skills. Look how beautiful and straight those stitches look. I cut off the excess fabric so it wouldn't bulk up the tail and boom, look at that sock. Wonderful. Then here's me turning the tail inside out, which took longer than making the entire tail up to this point. Now that the tail is done, I'm moving on to the ears with my two makeshift patterns that I'm still not so sure about at this point. So first I cut out the outside of the ear using some more gray fabric, repeating that step to make two ear shells, and then using the pink fabric to make the inside of the ear. The whole time I was unsure if this would work out, so I sewed together one side first and then folded the ear over. If you don't understand what I mean by that, don't worry, I don't understand it either, but it worked out. So here's the finished ears. Again, I cut off the excess fabric and then turned it to the right side. And would you look at that? It actually worked out perfectly. It looks exactly like I imagined. Gotta say, I'm pretty impressed with myself there. And then continued with the body stripes, with newfound and again misplaced confidence. Since the body is white, I made the stripes gray too, using that pattern that I made earlier to cut out a total of 15 stripes. Plus a few extra because I forgot to count and just didn't stop. Afterwards, I had to decide how to place the stripes on the body and mark it up for reference, which was an interesting process in itself. It involved a lot of math and confusion. I also want you to take note of the adorable giant shiny ditto that my girlfriend made for me. I love it. And then I started drawing the stripes on. Here's where I noticed that I'm really not getting any younger because this killed my back. Rest in peace, back. Rest in peace. And then I kinda cut the stripes out roughly. I was still trying to figure out how to sew them on at this point, and then I hand stitched all of them on. Well, more or less. So here's how I did it. I realized using the sewing machine doesn't work well, not because it's bad or anything, but simply because I have no chill and cannot go slow and steady for the life of me. So instead of taking a minute to prepare everything and do it carefully, I just hand stitched it all, which took hours of my life. For that, I cut off the border around the rounded parts entirely and stitched it on very closely to the edge. I can already hear the professional sewing people try to break down my door to beat me up because this just felt wrong. It did work though. Sometime along the way I realized I really don't need to hand stitch the entire thing, so I just hand stitched on the rounded parts and I used the sewing machine to finish the straight parts. I felt really smart because of that, but I don't think I should. After that struggle, I continued with something easier, the paws. Using my patterns, I cut out some white legs and pink toe beans, struggling really hard to cut out the toe beans because man, they feel tiny when the rest of the cat you made so far is just huge. In retrospect, I have a cutting machine, a Cricut, that I probably could have used to cut this out. Just like all the face parts, I stitched the beans on with this visible stitch that I still don't know the name of. Whatever it's called, I like it. And after I stitched on all the beans, I sewed the two parts of the paws together. I'm so glad you can't see how I accidentally sewed the wrong sides together first and then had to painstakingly remove all the thread like an idiot. Once again, I cut off the excess and turned them around. Heck yeah, cute little paw done. I repeated that 3 more times, and with this, I'm close to the end of this journey. I'm taking a moment to contemplate my life before I start sewing the face to the body. I did struggle a bit to figure stuff out, as well as trying to find a good way to use the sewing machine's pedal without breaking my leg. But I did manage to sew it together in the end. Beautiful. And then taking another moment to question my life choices before I start sewing the ears to the body. Again, it took me a while to figure things out. I always thought my three-dimensional thinking was good. Until now. I quickly realized that I will have to hand stitch them because I had no idea how to do it with a machine. Great. So I sewed and sewed and sewed. And after a long time, here are the ears. Hallelujah. Next up, I'm sewing on the paws. At this point, I had no energy for this anymore, so I somehow did it with the machine. It's not very clean, it's not beautiful, and I'm really glad you can't see it up close. But ta-da, the paws are on. That's all I care about. Lastly, I have to do the tail and the booty. Before doing that, I made myself a cocktail because I couldn't handle this sober. I cannot tell you how much this cat messed with my head. Before I sewed on the tail, I stuffed the tail with stuffing. I did that painstakingly, using my ruler and rolling pin and other kitchen utensils to try to stuff it down there. It was questionable at best. It took me a good 40 minutes just to stuff the tail. After I managed to do that, I hand stitched it on there, sewing and sewing and sewing. So then, I left the rest for another day. I couldn't deal with it anymore. A day later, I love how I'm wearing the same clothes and everything to make you believe that this was filmed a day later, when you can clearly see that all my furniture is moved around, indicating that this has been weeks ago, which it has. So now, I got the body, I got the booty. Now I just need to sew these two together. You can also really see that a few weeks have passed because I struggled so hard to figure out which way to sew it on. It's not easy. I'm not the youngest anymore. But eventually I did figure it out. I sewed the booty to the body, and with that, I was one step closer to salvation. Then it was time for the last bit of sewing. Finally. But first up, I thought it would probably be smart to stuff the paws first. So I did just that, grabbing some of my stuffing, putting it in the paw. Look at them, so soft and squishy and cute. Love it. And then it was time to sew the body shut. So I arranged everything, got in position. Now this is the point where I realized that I have a bit of a problem. And that problem is called holding your breath every time you turn on the sewing machine. Beautiful. So I sewed the body shut almost all the way, leaving a little gap in the end so I could, of course, turn it inside out again and then stuff the stuffing in there. I turned it inside out again carefully, and then it was finally time for the part that I looked forward to the most. Stuffing the cat. Filling it up. So I grabbed my first bag of stuffing. Each bag is 1 kilo, which is 1 kilo, which is 2.2 pounds. So I started stuffing it. I kind of tried to bunch up the fabric so I could really reach in there. I tried to bunch up the fabric so I could get really trying to bunch up the fabric so that I could get the stuffing all the way to the head. It was at this point that I also realized that maybe I should have left the hole at the other end of the cat, because man did it feel wrong. And then after some stuffing I finished the first bag, moved on to the second one. Stuffed it full again, and soon bag number 2 was done too. So moving on to bag number 3. I'm so glad I bought all the supplies when I still had money, because now I don't have any money anymore. I wonder why. And soon enough, it was on to bag number 4. But that one was empty really quickly too, but I still had a little bit left, so here's bag number 5. So the total cat in the end weighs about 4.5 kilos or 9.9 pounds. That's a heavy cat. So then I finished stuffing it, looking good there, and it was time to close up the body. Now for this, I used an invisible stitch, also called a ladder stitch, which is something that I just learned, so now I have to use that term to pretend I know what I'm talking about. I quickly figured out how to do that. This time I actually Googled it because I couldn't figure it out by myself. And I quickly stitched it up. It wasn't that quickly actually, but you don't need to know that. So then the cat was closed and done, and I'm not gonna show you the stitching because it looks really bad, but it is done, finally. Now the stuffing turned out to be a little bit lumpy, so what I did was I rolled the cat on the floor like a spaghetti. That wasn't even close to an Italian accent. But I rolled it on the floor like I imagine spaghetti is being made, to kind of try to distribute the stuffing a little bit better. And it did kind of work. And so here it is, the finished cat. Oh. Yeah, it's been behind me the whole time. So I did try to measure it. It's about 3.5 meters long, which is 11.5 feet, which I also knew and didn't Google. So 3.5 meters, 4.5 kilos, 11.4 feet, 9.9 pounds. It's a jonker. So I affectionately named her Truthahn, which is the German word for turkey. The bird, not the country. And now here she is, part of my life forever. She really is heavy. Lifting her up, I mean, maybe it's also because I'm weak. But still, it's heavy. It makes for a really nice scarf, gotta say though. So now that I'm done, one problem I'm facing is that my apartment is tiny and I really don't know where to store this cat. I think I'm just gonna keep it rolled up on my bed like this, like a spaghetti, and then I sit in there like a meatball bird. Wank. Look at this worm of a cat. It did not disappoint. I'm very happy. This was a whole ass journey. This was long. This is also a really expensive plushie. So, here we go. It did turn out really cute. This was fun. Tell me what you think about it. Should I do it again? If you ever feel like losing your mind, I can totally recommend this. So I'm gonna go take off my clothes now and cuddle up with Truthahn in my bed. Stay happy, stay healthy. Bye. Looks ominous. You creepy. You creepy cat. Creepy, creepy.